Welcome to Silent Betrayals. Please like this video and subscribe to Silent Betrayals. We are truly grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Let's begin. The evening air was unusually crisp as I parked outside our house. The scent of freshly cut grass lingered in the air, but instead of its usual soothing effect, it felt strangely unsettling. I had been working late for weeks, secretly planning a surprise trip for us to Santorini after the wedding, which was now just 2 weeks away. Our future together felt so near, almost within reach. As I stepped out of the car and glanced up at the house, everything appeared normal. Yet, deep down, a sense of unease stirred within me, something I couldn't quite put my finger on. As I approached the door, a flicker of movement in the window caught my eye. For a fleeting moment, I thought it was her, excitedly waiting for me. When I opened the door, she was indeed there, but not in the way I had anticipated. Emily, my fiancée, stood in the doorway wearing a sleek black cocktail dress. Her hair was impeccably styled, and she looked stunning. Yet, the tension in her expression betrayed her beauty. "You look amazing," I said, attempting to hide my confusion. Did I forget something special? Her lips quivered into a strange, strained smile. "No, you didn't forget anything. We need to talk." Those words hit me like a thunderbolt. When anyone says that, it's never a good sign. Behind her, near the door, I noticed a travel bag. My heart sank. "Going somewhere?" I asked, striving to keep my voice steady. She hesitated before replying. "I need some space, just for the weekend." "The weekend?" I repeated, my thoughts racing. "Emily, the wedding is in 2 weeks. What's so urgent now?" She avoided my gaze, her eyes darting elsewhere. "I've been feeling overwhelmed with work, with the wedding plans. I just need to clear my head. It didn't add up." "Clear your head?" I echoed, incredulous. "Where? With whom?" Her silence was the first crack. Then, almost too softly, she said, "With a friend." I froze. "A friend?" My stomach churned. "Is this friend a man?" Her hesitation confirmed it. "It's not what you think," she stammered. My chest tightened as I struggled to stay calm. "Then tell me, what is it?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "It's just someone I've been talking to. I needed someone to confide in." My hands curled into fists. "Someone who... Emily? Who is he?" She didn't respond immediately. Finally, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said his name. "Ryan?" That name hit me like a dagger to the heart. I pressed her for more, and the truth spilled out in fragmented pieces. She had been talking to him for months. At first, she insisted it was innocent, but as her story unraveled, the depth of her betrayal became painfully clear. "You've been planning a life with me, Emily. I can't believe this," I said, my voice trembling with disbelief. "All this time, you've been sneaking around with him?" Her tears streamed down her face. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I love you. But I felt like I was missing something." "Missing something?" I repeated, my anger surging. "You were missing something. So you decided to destroy everything we've built? For what? A fling." She sobbed harder but didn't deny it. I took a step back, my voice cold and firm. "If you walk out that door, Emily, don't bother coming back. This is it." For a moment, she froze, clutching her bag tightly. Then, with a whispered, "I'm sorry," she turned and walked away. The sound of the door closing behind her echoed in my chest. I stood there, staring at the empty space where she had been. The life we had planned together was crumbling before my eyes. That night, as I sat in the dim glow of the living room nursing a glass of whiskey, one thought burned brighter than all the rest. This wasn't over. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache and the bitter taste of whiskey still lingering in my mouth. But the ache in my chest was far worse. The betrayal was raw, gnawing at me from the inside. I couldn't sit idle. I needed answers. Her words from the night before kept replaying in my mind. Ryan. That name was all I had to go on, but it was enough. I picked up the phone and called Liam, an old college friend who had become a skilled private investigator. Liam, I said, trying to steady my voice, I need a favor. What's going on? He asked. Emily's been seeing someone else, I confessed, the words bitter on my tongue. I need to know everything about him. There was a pause before Liam replied. Send me what you know, and I'll get to work. I hung up, my heart pounding. This was step one. I needed to know who this guy was before I could decide what to do next. Later that day, Liam called back. His name's Ryan Caldwell, he said. He works with her. He's her manager. Divorced early 40s, no kids. They've been meeting after work, grabbing drinks, dinners, and last night they checked into a hotel downtown. My grip on the phone tightened. Do you have proof? I've got photos and receipts, Liam replied. I'll send them over. When the email arrived, I forced myself to open it. Photo after photo showed Emily and Ryan together, laughing at a restaurant, walking hand in hand, and finally entering a hotel. Each image felt like a dagger, twisting deeper into my chest. I stared at the photos for what felt like hours, the anger simmering just beneath the surface. She had lied to my face, thrown away everything we had built for him. But she hadn't counted on one thing. I wasn't going to let this go quietly. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the damning photos Liam had sent. My chest burned with pain, but for the first time since Emily walked out the door, my mind was clear. She thought I'd sit quietly, drowning in heartbreak, while she ran off with Ryan. She had no idea who she was dealing with. The first step was preparation. I called Sarah, my lawyer. Sarah, it's urgent. I need to protect everything I own. My house, accounts, car, all of it, I said, my tone firm. She listened carefully as I laid out the situation. Her response was sharp and professional. Since you're not married yet, she has no legal claim to your assets. But I'll make sure everything is locked down, just in case, Sarah assured me. By the end of the day, everything was secure. Emily might have walked out on me, but she wasn't walking away with anything else. That evening, Liam called back with an update. You're going to love this, he said, his tone brimming with triumph. Your boy Ryan isn't as clean as he looks. Turns out, he's been embezzling money from the company for years. It's subtle, but there's enough evidence to bury him. A slow, cold smile spread across my face. Send me everything you've got. Already on its way, Liam replied. When the files arrived, I pored over every detail. Ryan wasn't just a liar and a cheater. He was a thief. I couldn't have asked for better ammunition. The next morning, I composed an email from an anonymous account. It contained incriminating photos of Emily and Ryan, accompanied by a scathing message exposing their affair. With a single click, I sent it to Emily's closest friends, her family, and a few of her colleagues. But I wasn't done. Using the embezzlement evidence Liam had uncovered, I crafted another email. This one went to Ryan's company's HR and legal departments. I laid out every damning detail, attaching the proof. By the end of the week, the fallout was spectacular. Emily's phone was bombarded with calls and messages. Her mother left a furious voicemail, practically disowning her. Friends turned their backs on her, and whispers of the scandal spread like wildfire. Ryan fared no better. By Friday, he was escorted out of his office, his reputation in ruins. But I still wasn't satisfied. On Saturday evening, Emily showed up at my doorstep. Her face was pale, her eyes swollen and red from crying. She looked like a shell of the woman who had walked out on me just days earlier. Please, she said, her voice trembling. Can we talk? I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorframe. What could you possibly have to say, Emily? Tears streamed down her face. I made a mistake. I didn't know what I was thinking. I was scared of losing myself before the wedding. But I know now. I love you. I've always loved you. I let out a bitter laugh. Love? Is that what you were thinking about when you walked into that hotel with Ryan? It wasn't like that, she protested, her voice breaking. Don't lie to me, I snapped, my voice echoing in the still evening air. I gave you every chance to be honest, Emily, and you chose to betray me. You destroyed everything, I said, my voice firm. Her sobs grew louder. I'll do anything to make this right, she pleaded. Please, give me a second chance. I leaned in, my voice low and cold. You don't get a second chance. Not after what you've done. She collapsed onto the porch, crying uncontrollably, but I didn't care. I had nothing left to give her. Leave, I said, stepping back inside. We're done. As I shut the door, a strange sense of relief washed over me. For the first time in days, the weight on my chest lifted. But there was still one final piece of business to handle. A few days later, Liam called again, his voice brimming with victory. Ryan's been officially charged, he said. The company handed everything over to the authorities. They're investigating the embezzlement, and it's not looking good for him. He's facing jail time. I leaned back, satisfaction flooding through me. Good. He deserves everything coming to him. But there's more, Liam continued. Turns out Ryan was involved in other shady dealings, tax evasion and fraudulent contracts. Once the investigators dug deeper, they found enough to guarantee he'll be in court for a long time. That was the icing on the cake. Not only was Ryan's professional life in ruins, but his personal life was about to follow. The final part of my plan unfolded the following week. I compiled the evidence of Emily's affair and forwarded it to her company's CEO. While she wasn't involved in Ryan's financial crimes, the scandal was enough to tarnish her reputation. Within days, Emily was called into HR and terminated for violating company policy. The fallout was swift and brutal. Without a job, Emily moved back in with her parents. Mutual friends told me she was struggling to pick up the pieces of her life. I didn't feel pity. I felt justified. She had made her choice, and now she was living with the consequences. As for Ryan, his downfall was even more satisfying. He lost everything, his job, his credibility, and soon his freedom. A few months later, Liam sent me a text. Ryan's been sentenced. 3 years for fraud. It's over. I stared at the message for a long time, a sense of peace finally settling over me. Ryan had tried to take everything from me, but in the end, I had taken everything from him. Months passed, and I focused on rebuilding my life. The engagement ring Emily left behind was sold, and I donated the money to a local nonprofit. The house we had planned to share was put on the market, and I moved to a new city, a fresh start. One quiet afternoon, as I sat on the balcony of my new apartment sipping coffee, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Liam. Just checking in. How's the new place? I replied with a photo of the view. Better than I expected. Thanks for everything. You've earned it, he wrote back. As I set the phone down, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Emily's betrayal had almost broken me, but I came out stronger. I'd learned the value of my own resilience and the importance of trusting myself. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, I realized one thing for sure. This wasn't just an ending. It was the beginning of something better. The months that followed weren't easy, but they were necessary. Each day, I peeled back layers of pain and resentment, piece by piece, rebuilding who I was before Emily and Ryan tore through my life. Therapy helped, not just to process the betrayal, but to understand how I had let myself trust so completely without question. My therapist, Dr. Harper, was blunt but effective. You've been through hell, she said one day during a session. She said in one session, but that doesn't mean you stay there. You can let this define you, or you can redefine yourself. Her words stayed with me. That day, I began setting new goals. Fitness became my outlet. The gym turned into my sanctuary. a place where I could channel all my anger and pain into something productive. By the end of 6 months, I barely recognized myself in the mirror. The physical changes were only the beginning. They represented a deeper transformation. I started taking risks in other areas of my life. 2. Work became more than just a paycheck. I threw myself into projects I once thought were beyond me. I pitched bold ideas in meetings, networked with industry leaders, and even began taking night classes in business management. The small victories started adding up, and soon I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. Meanwhile, Emily's life continued to fall apart. A mutual friend, Jenna, occasionally shared updates. She's still living with her parents. Jenna told me one day over coffee, "It's bad. She's been trying to find work, but no one wants to hire her after what happened. She made her choices," I replied evenly. Jenna gave me a thoughtful look. "You're different now." I smiled faintly. I have to be. The true test of my transformation came a year later. I was attending a professional conference in the city, networking with other attendees, when I saw her, Emily. She looked almost unrecognizable. The confident, polished woman I once loved was now a shadow of herself. Her hair was messily pulled back, her clothes were wrinkled, and she carried a nervous energy that was hard to ignore. Before I could turn away, she saw me. Her eyes widened, and she quickly made her way over. "Hi," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Emily," I replied curtly. She hesitated for a moment before blurting out, "I've been wanting to talk to you." I raised an eyebrow. "About what?" She fidgeted, wringing her hands. "About everything. What happened between us, what I did. I don't know if you'll ever forgive me, but I need you to know how sorry I am." I stared at her for a long moment, letting her words sink in. Finally, I said, "I've moved on, Emily. You should too." Her face crumpled, but I didn't linger to see more. I walked away feeling no anger, no sadness, just relief. By the time I left the conference, I felt lighter. Seeing her had been the final step in letting go. She was a chapter in my life, but the book was far from over. That evening, I stood on my balcony, looking out at the city lights. The world felt full of possibilities, and for the first time in a long time, I was genuinely excited to see where life would take me next.